researching companies and industries using Forsyth Library's databases. Begin at the Forsyth Library website homepage, which you can reach from any Fort Hays page by going to Current Students and clicking on Forsyth Library. And we're going to go to the Research Guides. So click on Find Research Guides by Subject. And I'm going to click on Business. And you see that there's several research guides related to business. I'm going to go to the marketing one today. You could also go to the business one. And I'm going to click on the company and industry research page. There are 3 databases that are especially good for researching companies and industries, and they are Business Source Premier, LexisNexis, and ABI Inform Complete. You can also find information in Hospitality and Tourism Complete and Small Business Reference Center. I'm going to start with Business Source Premier, and as it says here, you select Company Profile when you start. If you click Company Profile in the blue toolbar at the top of the page, you can then search for your company. And I'm going to do Starbucks. You can just click on the Market Line report. And it shows us the company profile for Starbucks from Market Line. Here's an example of what these type of things cover. Company overview, key facts, description, revenue analysis, SWOT analysis, top competitors, etc. I'm going to go directly to the SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Tells you a little bit about the company and then just briefly enumerates what each category is. And then it goes into more detail about each one of those. For example, under weaknesses, it notes product recalls. And threats, intense competition, opportunities, growing presence in key Asian markets, etc. Just returning to the table of contents, I'm going to check out their top competitors. So Nestle, McDonald's, Smucker's, which owns Folgers and a lot of other coffee brands, Dunkin' Donuts, etc. Okay, so there's a lot of information you can gain from the market report. I'm just going to go back to my search, do a new search. And if you want to find all the information about your company in this database, you can just do a normal search. For example, maybe I'll put, maybe I'll just do Starbucks, and then I could select company entity. Okay, so there's over 4,000 just about Starbucks, anything related to Starbucks. I'm going to return to the marketing research guide and let's move on to LexisNexis. If you haven't used this before, it has a lot of newspapers from all over the world. It also has legal information, court cases, and it also has a company section. I'm just going to go directly to the database so you can see what it looks like. If you go click on it in our database links. This is the main search page. You can just search from here. You can narrow your search to news, legal cases, and here's the Get Company Info. So we can click on that and just do a search, or you can get to the company dossier. And So I'm going to try that. Okay, and it gives us the 3 top companies with that name. We want the parent company that's in the United States, so we pick this first one, and it shows us the ticker symbol is SBucks. And just to show you, you get the same result if you go directly from the guide using this search widget. It takes you to that same page. And you can see we end up in the snapshot, which gives you basic information, gives you the SIC and NAICS codes, stock quotes, and if you're interested, you can do a custom chart here where you can change your range. Let's say we want to look at 6 months. Okay. Go back to the overview. You can also get the current news, information on the staff, competitors, news, financials, SEC filings, legal cases, etc. Look at current news. And you can search within that to narrow your results. Let's see, I'm going to try putting in recall, since they said they had some product recall. Okay. Okay, I'm going to look in the legal, the recent cases, recent U.S. cases. Okay, so it can give you an idea of what the weaknesses are. It mentioned legal cases in the weaknesses, so you could get an idea of what all kind of legal problems that they've had. Under financials, you can also get information on mergers. And SEC filings and other reports. Another nice feature that LexisNexis has is if you go up to Company, the Company tab, and then do Compare Companies, you can compare up to 5 companies. So let's look at Starbucks compared to some of their competitors. Starbucks, McDonald's, and Smucker's, Folgers, and other coffee brands. So we just do compare. Oops, okay, that should be Smucker instead of with an S on the end. Okay, so we've got all these financials that we're now comparing against 2 other companies, so you can easily compare across there, and gives you the dates. And as I said, you could do up to 5 companies that way. The executive tab, you can research a particular executive, even limiting by negative news, congressional testimony, that kind of thing. Industry, you can do a similar kind of industry. If I just put in coffee, and let's look at roasted coffee industry. So now we're back in the same, we have a snapshot, only this time it's looking at an entire industry rather than a company. Gives you the top companies with their sales, assets, liabilities, etc. And so we see what some of the top companies are. And you also get some ratios down here. And if we look on mergers here, we can see, let's see, this Tetley group, Tetley Tea was bought out. Sara Lee was bought out by Smucker. Starbucks purchased Seattle Coffee Company. That was quite a while ago. So anyway, you can get a list of what kind of mergers have been taken over, what it cost, how they paid, etc. And if you want to return to the main search page, you can just click on the name at the top. And if you want to do just a real broad search on Starbucks, let's see, let's try recall this time. Okay, 236. And as I said, this gives results from a lot of different newspapers all over the country, not just newspapers, but over here on the left you can narrow your results. If you want to see, for example, from a particular part of the world or a particular state, you can do that. You can also limit by the industry, the company, geography, etc. So LexisNexis is a huge database with a lot of different kinds of information in it, so it's worth getting to know how to use it. Returning to the guide, let's look at ABI Inform Complete. And as it says, click on Data and Reports at the top of the screen. And we can do the search just like before. And you can limit here depending on if there's something specific that you want. Okay, so here's a report. This icon indicates it's a report. So the other one was from MarketLine, and this is a different company. So let's take a look at this to see if it's any different. Okay, a lot of the same content. Let's look at their SWOT analysis. Okay, they have a weakness of overdependence on the U.S. market and opportunity emerging market entry into India, which the other one did say it was entering into Asia. Okay, and another threat, legal proceedings. And intense competition. So those are pretty similar, but maybe give you different details. And it also gives you a financial analysis, the key ratios across time up to 2012. And you can see in addition to the reports, we also got results from trade journals, magazines, etc. Trade journals are periodicals that are directed directly to people who work in the industry. So let's limit just to show you. For example, restaurant news, food service equipment and supplies. So you can see they would have a little bit different information than just your general newspaper or magazine. Over here on the right, there's a lot more limits. If we go to company and organization, we can see some of the other competitors that we talked about. So we could go, if we wanted to see the ones that mention some of these competitors, you could just click on whichever one you were interested in. And Hospitality and Tourism Complete, it's also an EBSCOhost database. So you could choose to search it along with Business Source Premier if you like. And the way to search in here is just to select company entity, or whatever it is you're entering about the company, ticker symbol, etc. So for example, put in Marriott, and here we get a SWOT analysis. So similar to the other EBSCOhost databases that we have searched, it just doesn't have the company profile part in it. You just search like a regular article search. That's all I have. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or give me a call. I'll be glad to help you. Thank you.